get ourselves that controller there. Need a controller to do things. Yeah, the game doesn't play like audio while it's all tabbed for some reason. I've noticed. But yes, let us review what we've discovered so far once a few more people trickle in. It also helps if I'm on the correct scene. Yes, we've discovered things so far. We've discovered truths. There are many truths in this world, and by many I mean 4. Only 4 things are true. No more, no less. I have a feeling I know how to get the second truth. I think I almost had it on one of the rounds, and then I messed something up at the last second. I'm pretty sure it was I think it was this one where I got stabbed by Lupino. I think if I had rejected Lupino's plan and taken Zenobia to the mountain instead of to the base, I think that would have been the solution to that one, I feel like. But there's another path I want to try first. It involves the Iblis trigger here, the Iblis stone trigger. I think that will take me to places. So let us give that a shot.
The clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose.
It was time to choose.
The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer.
So I'll do the first one.
Had surfaced.
I'll do the first one to see what happens.
It could go catastrophically wrong. But he
and
was
then
sure he could figure out how
after
to
that
use
we
it
can
safely.
start
Also,
having audience
a
votes
temple
again.
had risen out of empty desert. The Iblis stone was hidden there. It was a dangerous artifact. It could corrupt its user into a bloodthirsty monster. Maybe he could find a way to use it, to take its power without surrendering to its wickedness.
Is Midas here too,
And also, his old friend Lupino.
Because I know he enjoyed this game.
Of course. Renato had a pretty strong suspicion that Lupino had betrayed the rebellion. But could Renato really leave an old friend to the Ravens?
Scruffo. Why can't he yet? Alright, I know why. But yeah.
The island was windswept desert.
So we've seen that before. Basically, there's a stone here that's... A temple has risen from the desert that was hidden before.
Every child could sing verses about the Sky Ripper, but ancient codices held hints of other things. A stone that ate souls. A ruby that drank blood.
Alright, let's see if I remember the controls for this.
Only a righteous man could give away.
Okay.
Were all these things the Iblis stone? Long hidden in a buried temple? Another ancient item that was only resurfacing now? Drawn up from the deeps by the Emperor's horrific rituals?
So for those who haven't seen me play this game before, from Sunday specifically, basically it's like a choose your own adventure where, you know, if you mess up and die, you get to go back and choose a different path. And the character kind of remembers what happened, so like he I didn't mean to hit that button. Like that's why he was saying
Fortunato.
That's why he was saying, hey Midas. That's why I was saying stuff like, you know, we're pretty sure Lupino betrays us, and the Iblis Stone turns you into a bloodthirsty monster and stuff like that.
Last time, the stone had fought him for possession of his own soul.
And stuff like that. That's a different dialogue than the first time you come here. Because the character remembers. Got hit right last second.
Were already here, cawing in frustration. They were still searching for a way in. Good. And he hadn't come too late.
Would you describe the book as a portal? I guess that's a word for it. Let's bash their shields. Now nothing can stop me from dashing anywhere I want. That seems like a useful skill. Yeah, the combat in this game is pretty simple, but it's not the worst I've ever seen. Sorry, they did what? I forgot what we were talking about. I think I lost the plot. Oh yeah, and these doors. There's a different colored door for each colored sword. So this is an ice sword. This one makes you attack faster if you use its special power. This one heals you, which is why I had it on earlier and just kind of like used its magic to heal myself, and then this one sets things on fire. Because red means fire, blue means ice, and purple means fast, apparently.
And this is why heroes are called dashing, Renato thought. See? Dashing.
I've read this before.
Get it?
Basically it just says like, hey, if you get the stone, it's going to talk in your head. Don't listen. And of course the last one I did, of course I listened to it when I had the stone. And I ended time. Yeah, not a big deal. Just ended time. But everyone does that sometimes.
Sweet. You could use this material to craft a spork. Or a sword.
I go for a spork. You don't want a spork, Strefo? Dang. Got my butt kicked there. Good thing apples are nutritious and delicious. Oh, was there a car alarm going off?
There had to be some way to
Yeah, that
use the
happens a lot.
Iblis stone. It was old, wasn't it? People are so much cleverer now. And Renato was pretty sure he was cleverer than most people. The mysterious sword from the east made you so fast you could catch a fly with your chopsticks. If that's what you really wanted.
Open. Open. There we go. Yeah, all these... I've gotten everything from these chests, so I guess they just give me health now. Because they give you the gems I have equipped. I guess they ran out of gems. I feel like that's truly outrageous.
Ravens didn't smell any better dead, Renato thought. The Ravens at least could not get past this point. Obviously the temple builders knew how to deal with Tomb Raiders.
Tomb Raiders. Down we go.
There was an inscription on the platform. Balaleka lessons, with an address.
That's different than last time. Time to grab a stone.
It was a stone of the purest blackness. It reflected no light, like a void made solid.
Are the volumes still good?
Nervous, he picked it up. Who said that? It was the stone. Eager, thirsty. That seemed tempting and terribly wrong. Zenobia was the Emperor's greatest general and a potent witch. But they had been close once, and he had a sneaking suspicion the gem would try to control him. Why not capture the core of Sky Ripper instead? It was the eye of a lost god torn out by the transcendent Emperor to power his greatest weapon. "It's the core," said the stone anxiously.
Eager and thirsty
Even though
stones in the
Renato
area.
knew how evil the gem was, he had a clever plan for dealing with it.
A third option. That third option didn't exist before. The stone is scared of this armature, though. I'm curious what happens in that direction, but a clever plan. Clever plans are great. I got a vote for 2. Does anybody else have a reason, a thought on this? Alright, two
The
it is.
stone bothered him. He hated being told what to do. Wasn't that why he joined the rebellion? Wasn't that why he'd refused to be a soldier? He'd agreed to come on board only if he could freelance. The stone felt a bit clingy, and he had a feeling it did not have his best interests at heart. The sage Calaveras had told him where to find the Sky Ripper, a weapon capable of challenging the gods. Even without its armature, the core would still possess great power. He would go there. The moment he landed the Farfarer, Reynardo had a rare feeling of regret. It's not too late, he thought. He could turn around and sail for Zenobia's island. He frowned. Wait a minute. He didn't want to kill Zenobia, did he? Sure, technically she was the enemy, but they'd been at Sword Fu school together. They'd never been lovers, but somehow they'd been closer. She'd told him every secret about herself. Except the biggest one. That she was the Emperor's daughter. No. Kill Zenobia, whispered the stone. Before it's too late.
Interesting. Living islands. I wonder what this clever plan was, though, that
In
we'll
this chest,
never see.
there were woodcuts of amazingly beautiful vixens wearing no clothes at all. And something more useful.
Once again, Reynard gets horny.
There was something sour in the air. Like the earth had ruptured over something that had been fermenting for a very long time.
Can't believe it's stinky here.
You almost never saw wild gogglers together like this. The toads had to train them not to peck each other to death. These had to be imperial gogglers. That meant ravens were up ahead. The stone hadn't lied about what it could do for him. With each raven he cut down, he felt a jolt of power flowing into his arm. "You're weak," whispered the stone. "The core will kill you." "Are you afraid of it?" "No, don't be ridiculous." It chuckled. But it's unstable. It will poison you so much as carry it, and if you try to use it, it will explode catastrophically. Reynardo did not trust rocks that talked in his head. He went onwards.
It's probably right. It's probably not the correct solution either. Especially since it presented a third solution. A third solution might have had better results, but who knows? We'll find out someday. Chalk. Who designed doors that are opened by hitting them with a sword or put any sort
You
of...
couldn't expect the transcendent emperor to bury a god's eye in a leather sack where anyone could pick it up.
Can't believe a puzzle. A very simple puzzle. Definitely not a hard puzzle. That was the most difficult puzzle out there.
Brilliant. Lovely. Hold that pose.
Can't believe I got hit. Alright, let's touch cube.
As he approached the core, the stone became hysterical. He had a sudden vision of plunging his gauntlet into the core and dying in anguish. That wasn't his vision, was it? The stone had sent him its darkest fears, hadn't it? He had a sudden impulse to do exactly that. He raised his right fist and plunged it into the core. There was a rush of light. He thought he could hear the stone screaming. And then he passed out. When Ronaldo came to, the core was gone. But the Iblis stone was no longer black, but glowing with a blue light.
Well, that's different.
And it was silent. I can't hear you, he sang out. And you? It didn't answer. Ha, he said. He had defeated the demonic gem with the power of his mind. He felt invincible. It was time to attack the Imperial outpost on the Nexus. Take the battle to the enemy. But among the huge crystals, there was also an observatory. A wise man would probably ask the scientists exactly what he had first. How wise was he?
How wise am I? You think I should find out information? Do we have concurrence in the chat? I know last time we got a logical solution, they told us the odds of destroying the universe, and then we did anyway.
As the Farfarer made its way toward the Nexus, Bernardo watched sparks fly out of the core. The Iblis stone sucked them in hungrily. You'd think the stone would want this kind of power, wouldn't it? Thought Bernardo. Well, the scientists would explain it all. This time, Bernardo was sure he'd figured out how to use the core safely.
Ah, interesting. Perhaps this is something, since it gave that little extra tidbit about the core. Does that mean we switched over to a different path?
He trusted his gut, and it had worked out. That's what it meant to be a hero. To ignore the naysayers and the odd makers, and do what you knew was right, and have it turn out to be the right thing. Well, he wasn't worried.
I'm all blood.
Once he got to the observatory, the scientist toads could explain it. Then he could carry the war into the enemy's camp and destroy them all. Oh dear, he was getting a little bloodthirsty, wasn't he? If they didn't want their things broken, they really ought to make them stronger.
He's not wrong. No, that dropped ore for me though. How about these? Still no ore. A door. A very
Renato had
interesting
never felt
blue
better
glow.
in his life. Normally, a battle would wear him down and he would need a night's sleep. Now he felt like he could go all night and all day. He felt like people were cheering him on, and he could practically hear their applause as he slew one raven after another.
It seems like I've less traded in one thing for it seems like I've just traded in like a different kind of bloodthirstiness. That's what I feel like.
The Imperial fleet was closing in on the rebels, forcing them to come out and fight. Renato was itching to bring the fight to the enemy. He had to remind himself not to be too reckless. Imagine if he put a house on one of these things. Oh, that would be amazing. It would be like having a boat.
Oh. Oh. These fireballs, man. Just letting them hit me.
So much. It was time to turn it into something he could use.
Stuff. Gotta make myself dizzy.
This was a roundabout way of getting there.
He doesn't stay dizzy for very long, though. He very quickly shakes that off.
The observatory measured the stone with their occult devices. I fed it the core of Sky River, explained Renato. No more feed balanced souls. But the core is not an unlimited energy source, said one toad. Another said, there's a feedback loop, you see, which could overload the stone. The stone doesn't actually feed on souls, claimed a third, but on pain of killing another sentient being. If you can truly be at peace with yourself, it would not overload. This was all very confusing. At peace? Yes, the mountains were peaceful and quiet, but he now had the power to turn the tides. He should report to the Rebellion Council and prepare for the decisive battle.
Should I meditate? Or should I fight? So you think our smart choices try to meditate there?
The one thing he understood from all the Toad arguments, maybe the stone did not feed on blood, or souls, or rage. It fed on empathy. It fed on the pain he felt when he put an end to another being's existence. Even if that other being was a raven intent on killing him, if he could find peace, then he could use the power of the Iblis stone without being taken over by its evil. Yes, that was the way to defeat the Iblis stone. The mountains. He would go to the mountains. He could find peace there.
Only in mountains can you find peace. Nowhere else.
Unfortunately, the mountains were not empty. There were ravens everywhere. No matter. He had to fight, yes, but he didn't have to be angry. Parry, dodge, slash, and breathe. Yes, focus on the rhythm, the dance of it, not on the blood or the raven's core as they died. Ah, it was working. He wasn't feeling those dark jolts of eldritch energy. He wasn't feeling the Iblis stone.
Oh, did I? Oh, I haven't passed the shrine yet. At least I haven't noticed passing a shrine, but...
Oh, I really ought to put a railing on this thing, he thought.
Yes. Why is he climbing the mountain? To touch the mountain. To envelop that mountain. I think I only have one upgrade left for my weapon, if I recall correctly. I just need 100 oracles.
The stone was still silent. His mind was his own, and his heart too. He bore them no ill will, these ravens. They were doing their job. They were expressing their nature. Dance, whirl, parry, jab, and breathe. It was all so simple, wasn't it? Something was missing. He didn't feel truly at peace. Wait. Wasn't this near where Calaveras lived? The sage would help him figure it all out.
Time to visit Caldera. Veris.
Surprisingly unwounded.
Surprisingly unwounded. Damn. Can't believe I got hit. Can't believe I let this happen to me, of all people. Ah, apples. Or whatever those are, I don't know what they are. Apparently they are delicious and nutritious. Man, none of these things got anything for me. How rude. At least they're fun to break. It's a very crumbly land. I've been that way before. Doesn't have anything interesting. It just takes you here anyway.
The Iblis Stone, silenced by the Skyripper's core, had given Renato enough power to challenge the Imperial fleet. But what Renato was seeking was inner peace. The rebellion was on the verge of extinction, but it would have to wait.
Oh no. It actually dropped ore this time and I foolishly ran away. Interesting. Could stun or... that would be good. For when I do get hit like a fool.
At the end of the mountain path, he found the wise Calaveras in his workshop. To fix souls are only artifacts. He asked the sage. Does your soul need fixing? Asked the sage. I've been killing a lot of ravens lately, he told the sage. You're a fox, said Calaveras.
I can't
And
believe.
to kill birds is part of your nature. You should take joy in it. I mean, I might as well worry about eating flies. Would you like a fly? It was true. That's what he had forgotten. The joy. Now he was ready for the final battle. The Farfarer cut through the clouds. The air had never felt so sweet since he was a child.
Inner peace acquired.
There
You
it
feel
was.
must feel happy about
The
killing
dreaded
birds.
Imperial fleet. He could smell wet hemp ropes ahead, wood and tar, and ravens. Even
Is
the
that a
fleet
thing
smelled
that foxes
good
do?
somehow.
Do they kill birds? I
He
thought they
was
like
ready.
hunted small rodents or something.
He was ready. Renato had it all squared away in his head. He would kill the Emperor. Isengrim III had begun well, but he had gone mad. He was trying to invoke the lost gods by means of dark, blasphemous rituals. That was a secret. But the victims had spoken to Renato. The ghosts had spoken. No. No anger. Renato could not afford anger. It was empowering the crystal in his sword. That made him stronger, but it clouded his mind. He would not be a hero. A hero strives. Renato would just be one with everything. The Emperor would die, and the wheel would turn, and all would be restored.
Darn it, one off.
Without rancor, without sorrow, without pain.
Hey Raji, so I decide this time to get the stone and then get the core with it, which caused the stone to stop being angry. And then we talked to a sage, and the sage said that foxes hunt birds, so I should be happy
Building
about
these
it.
platforms was so expensive, they'd run out of budget for guardrails.
Yes. Also, I can finally do my final sword upgrade as soon as I find a workbench again. Yes, we're about to kill birds. Mini birds. I also can now dash through shields, so nothing stops me from dashing and gets me hit anymore like it used to.
Night time, boys! Call up the lead, Raven.
So dashing is very useful
He
now.
thought about it, and he had so much more time to think about it now that he was not worrying about the battle. Killing the Emperor would not change anything. Another would take his place. Perhaps Zenobia. Perhaps the Speaker of the Rebel Council, and power would corrupt them too, and death would make grief, and grief would lead to hatred. He must lead by example.
Oh no.
Reject the violence. Reject the desire to
This is where it goes wrong.
create violence. But how?
This is where it goes wrong. He's gonna be like, I'm not gonna fight anymore, and then they'll be like, okay, then you get to die. Well, yeah, I guess we'll see if he destroys the universe again. Because I think I destroyed the universe twice last time.
Soon he'd confront the Emperor. Again. This time, he'd make an end of him. He'd screwed up last time, but he had a good feeling about this time.
The combat's slightly better now that I have more skills, but it's still pretty simple. Alright, let's see what goes wrong this time.
Ship. The path behind him was strewn with dead ravens. The path to enlightenment. His mistake, he realized, was trying to change the world. The world would spin and the wheel would revolve whether he strove against it or not. What he had to do was nothing. He had attained enlightenment. He sat down, adopted a full lotus position, and began to meditate. And all around him, the warriors stopped fighting too. They knew. They could feel his enlightenment. They gave up fighting, dropped their weapons, and became his disciples.
Okay, well I wasn't expecting that. Okay.
No, just kidding. The nearest raven stabbed him with a sword and chopped off his head.
Okay.
Might not have thought this through properly. Thought Renado's head as it rolled around the deck and died.
God.
He should
What
go
a
back to some
idiot.
of the choices he'd faced before. Maybe there were new paths that had opened up. Like those doors he was opening up all over the map that took him to new treasures and around his enemies. And he hadn't learned anything new this time. He'd done the same thing twice, yet expected a different outcome.
The fool. Return as the hippie.
The book's pages fluttered to the beginning once again. Faster than before, and he fell. The clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer. Pieces of the Sky Ripper had surfaced. Renata knew that using it could go catastrophically wrong. but he was sure he could figure out how to use it safely.
So meditating
Also,
on that,
a temple had risen out
on
of
that,
empty
I think that
desert.
meditating was a
The
bad
Iblis
choice.
stone was hidden there. It was a dangerous artifact.
Yeah, I guess we should go try
It
Lupino
could
again,
corrupt
see if
its
we
user
can
into a bloodthirsty
figure out
monster.
how to
Maybe
not
we
get
could find a
killed.
way to use it, to take its power without surrendering to its wickedness. And also, his old friend Lupino needed rescuing. Of course, Renato had a pretty strong suspicion that Lupino had betrayed the rebellion. But could Renato really leave an old friend to the Ravens?
Let's see. So on this path, what I have done is reject Lupino's. I think what I'm going to do is find Zenobia and reject Lupino's plan, and don't take her to the base, and see how that works out.
Lupino. Apparently, the Mad Rabbit had sold a Pegasus that he did not exactly own. Lupino always wiggled out of trouble, given time. But he was out of time. Lupino's frantic message said that the Ravens were going to kill him for being a rebel spy. And that he had a clever plan.
A clever
If the
plan
fleet
that
reached him
involves
first,
jumping out of a
they'd string him
watermelon.
up for that. Never mind the winged horse. Or so Lupino had told him over the far speaker anyway. Lupino had apparently managed to confuse the judge by arguing that he hadn't actually stolen a winged horse. He'd only sold it. But wait, where was the prison? The village was empty. Had everybody fled the Ravens?
And with this, I now have
The sword felt even colder.
all the swords at max level. Also, the achievement was Hanzo would like these, because of course, you have to make a reference to Kill Bill. It's mandatory. Was Hattori Hanzo an actual person, not just a thing Kill Bill?
That was odd. Renato had been here, at this exact place, at this exact time. But this time, there were so many more Ravens.
I don't know why I'm breaking these, I don't have any reason to anymore.
Renato looked around the empty village and reflected. The Sky Ripper had turned out to be far too dangerous to be used. Time to turn to what he knew best.
And there's... oh, okay. I didn't know that. Let's see. What should I get? Maybe... yeah, increasing my sword energy might be a good idea. Either that or stunning them as I dash through them.
Cool. Wish I could do that.
I can go through here, or I can go down the well. I think I'll go down the well. I just don't have any... I have all of the upgrades now, so there's really no reason to collect loot of any sort. Now it's just trying to figure out the way to not die like an idiot. Because Renato is a Class A idiot.
Ravens were landing everywhere. The advance guard. He'd better get moving. If they got to Lupino first, they'd eat him for breakfast. Or a snack. Ravens weren't picky. If they got hungry, they sometimes forgot to interrogate their prisoners. Even top spies like Lupino. Well, unless he really was a traitor, obviously. Then they'd probably pin a medal on his chest. Dirty and bloody, Renato finally reached Lupino. The
We've
rabbit
seen you
was
so many
practicing
times.
his shuffle. Bernardo recognized the cards. It was Lupino's favorite deck. Oh, I thought you were in danger. I am. The ravens are coming. Oh, the prison thing. Right, yeah, we see this guard owed me 53 ducats, so we made a deal. They're very reasonable people, actually, for weasels. Now, I got a brilliant plan to kidnap Zenobia. We capture Zenobia, we find out what she knows. And that's the whole war right there.
Yeah, Lupino's
Easy
definitely
peasy,
never
lemon
betrayed me
squeezy.
twice.
Capture the Emperor's greatest general, who also happened to be a deadly sorcerer, and oh, his only daughter. That would be worth it. On the other hand, he could still get to the core of the Sky Ripper, even if he couldn't get the whole thing. It must have great power.
I feel like getting the core of the Sky Ripper, like, without the armature or without the Iblis Stone is a terrible, terrible idea.
Zenobia wasn't just the Emperor's daughter, of course.
Like, the worst idea. It just
She
seems
was already under Zenobia's
very bad.
control. I had to admire her efficiency. Renato shivered at the thought of Zenobia at the mercy of the interrogators. Could he really turn her over to them? But this was war. It wasn't meant to be pretty.
There we go. I can open this and get more ore for some reason, but there's just no reason.
Everybody who wants to die, raise your weapon. All right.
It's interesting that birds can't fly, though. Birds are very silly in their inability to fly. Oh, right this way. Down we go.
Why was Lupino urging him to capture Zenobia? Obviously it was a trap. But you never knew how Lupino thought. Sometimes his plans were so convoluted they did the exact opposite to what Lupino wanted. And there must be some way to play on that, Renato thought.
What's down here? There's so many alternate paths. Ah, I see. This crap is down here.
Give me a lever, said Archimedes, and I shall open a gate. So, what's this plan of yours? Use me as bait, said Lupino. And he outlined a slightly complicated plan that involved geese, a net, setting the Farfarer a little bit on fire, Lupino dressing as an old blind toad, and Renato hiding inside a monstrous watermelon. What could possibly
The
go
biggest
wrong?
watermelon.
Thought Renato.
No time for harebrained schemes.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sure you know better, said Lupino.
Oops, damn. That always gets me. Well, I'm not expecting it anyway.
Renato slinked through Zenobia's ship, making no sound at all. Where were her guards? Finally, he reached her bedroom. She was curled up on her bed. Oh, he'd forgotten how beautiful she was. How sleek. How soft. He tapped her on the shoulder with his sword. She became smoke. and he noticed he had a blade to his throat. Stay a while. Heard a familiar
Stay a
voice.
while and listen.
Really think you could capture me? Zenobia said as the ship lifted off. Now I just wanted some privacy. Renato said, did you ever wonder why the Emperor adopted you? And he told her why. His Imperial Majesty wanted to bring the lost gods back. They could make him immortal. But to seal the bargain, he needed a sacrifice. Someone who truly loved him.
You're lying. She was furious. You can't prove that.
Can't prove
I can.
nothing.
And so, they set sail for the Nexus. The scientists at the observatory have resurrected one of his victims. Well, he's not exactly alive, but it can talk, and it can't lie. You took a big risk. You know, I could just cast a spell to make you tell me where the rebel base is. And you wouldn't consider that cheating? She frowned. Ugh, fine. Let's go get your witness.
Cheating spells. See, magic is
The
cheating.
rebellion had started after atrocities that the Empire hushed up. Renato had rescued a priest whose order had been massacred for one book. He had slept in a burnt village. Dead kittens and puppies had come to tell him what the Emperor had done to them.
I'm here again. I feel like we were just here a moment ago. Here we are again. Exactly. It's like wizards, no sense of right or wrong. Scarfo has a very relevant comic for that he can post if he wants to. Now, where did I leave my shotgun?
She caught up with him. Don't you think I'd know if my father started practicing black magic?
Why? Would you want to join in?
Oh, no, I'd destroy his books and...
All right, I suppose I wouldn't. She stopped, troubled. He ran on.
The problem with
Renato had been
particularly
searching for a way to
advanced
save the
magic
rebellion.
worlds is that, like,
Lapina wanted to capture
they start getting
and interrogate
inconsistent about the
Zenobia.
rules around it.
But if he could show her proof of her father's madness, maybe she would join the rebellion.
This boat again.
How far exactly did these things travel?
This boat is my curse. know why I'm opening this. Oh, it has some magic in it at least.
Don't look down, he told himself. Don't look down.
Crystals. Crystal Land. I know, it's on fire.
The observatory was a burning hulk. Dead scientists and black feathers everywhere.
The Ravens had taken care to burn the reanimated witness to cinders. Zenobia stared around, shocked. The scientists had been neutral. They had no part in the rebellion. Take me to your council, she said, shaken. I have things to tell them. It was what Renato had gambled on. The Zenobia would turn against her father once she knew his madness. But the rebel base was secret. Could he really risk taking the Emperor's daughter there? Renato reached Lapino by Farspeaker Toad.
No. We should take her to the base.
What?
Insisted Lapino.
What was that voice?
No, I don't trust her. Nobody changes sides that fast, said Renato.
I better go to the base. Let them know you've got her.
Lapino said.
What is that
For some
voice?
reason, Renato wasn't sure that was a good idea. Just meet me at the far side of the mountains. There's a shuttle here I can take.
Always has to be your way, doesn't it?
Said Lapino.
I'm suddenly Lapino now. Oh. Kind of reminded me of MC doing the voice.
Zenobia was still shaking as they got out. I didn't know, she said. The Ravens kept it secret. At first they sacrificed prisoners, then villages near the frontier, and then an orphanage. Kittens and puppies. Sometimes he'd come back to the palace and it was like there were glowing things behind his eyes. I was so busy. I'll clear a path for us, Renato told Zenobia, so the Ravens don't see you.
I don't think meeting up with Filipino's a good idea. He's probably gonna stab me again.
Renato felt bad for littering, but these islands are short and trash cans.
I didn't realize this was a path with chest. Oh, jeez.
Where Renato went next, we cannot follow. Yet.
Ah, that was loud. I didn't even notice that second explosion guy. Oh, confound it, I did it again. I dashed into the explosion guy.
No one could beat Renato at hot potato.
There. Never took a hit. Never happened. Perfect the whole way. These explosion guys are dangerous, man.
Oh, this really didn't have much in the way of safety features, did it?
Guys, stop complaining about the platforms.
Zenobia came up as he massaged his sore arm. Her eyes were wet. He's been saying strange things. He asked me to do experiments. And some were wrong.
They are banished, right?
Said Renato.
Gone forever. I mean, he couldn't actually bring the old gods back, could he?
She didn't answer him. That frightened him more than anything.
She has very skinny legs and very, like, wide boots. Boots and cats. Cats and boots.
Renato had heard stories of a dungeon where chests were filled with potions and weapons. Fairy tales.
Strange world where chests only have ore in them. Endless ore. Endless ore in blue pumpkins. Blueberry pumpkins.
Bard when you needed one.
Wait, where's the way forward? Oh, this way. I'm going high again. See if we get anywhere this time. Or if we die to something extremely stupid again.
Thought Renato. All my gates are going to open with buttons. Renato wondered if he should have taken Zenobia to the rebel base for real. Maybe she wasn't playing him after all. After the bleak talk about the Emperor's dark secrets, he was regretting his suspicion.
Oh hey, that guy's not here this time.
They came up on an empty shack. He gestured her in. "Where's the base?" she asked, confused. "I thought we could talk a bit first."
"Oh, you think I'm playing you?" She was furious. "I'm betraying my father who picked me out of an alley, and you think I'm playing you?"
She lashed out. Her claws sliced fire into his face. Energy boiled in her other paw. But before she could kill him, he slashed his sword into her heart.
That didn't go
She
well.
staggered. "I could have loved you, you son of a bitch."
Okay,
And
so
then
that
she died.
clearly
Renato stood
Lupino is not the way to save
for
her.
hours, unable to move. Finally, a ship landed near him. Lupino had brought the Farfarer. On board the Farfarer, Lupino couldn't stop grinning. "I can't believe you actually killed her. Why didn't I trust her?" Renato said. All he could feel was emptiness. "You killed the Emperor's daughter. You might want to run for it, if you care whether you live or die, that is." Since Renato didn't, he grabbed the wheel, and he sailed for the Imperial fleet.
Lupino always playing solitaire. So it's like, I guess this is like always the final level.
Renato had never felt worse. Zenobia had listened to him. He had trusted him. She had opened her eyes to her father's evil. Done everything he had hoped for. He had taken her to a dirty shack. Was he so used to lying that he couldn't trust even the girl he had always loved? Had that door been opened before?
He
Yeah,
could see the
probably.
rebels reeling back as he plunged into the ranks of the Ravens. He'd had to kill the girl he loved, but he'd also blown the biggest opportunity they could have had to turn the Emperor's daughter against him. Bernardo could only laugh. He was taking crazy chances now, swinging wildly. He expected the Ravens to take him at any moment, but they were running in fear. No one wants to fight a man who doesn't care if he lives. No one wants to fight a hero.
This game has a weird definition of a hero sometimes.
This was more like a flying tabletop. But it would do.
Oh, I didn't notice Buffalo there. Wait, yeah, Lupino's probably gonna stab me or something stupid. Seems like the whole Lupino path is kind of a dead end. I'm thinking maybe the Iblis stone is actually like the best chance, maybe.
Soon he'd confront the Emperor. Funny that this whole war had come about because the Emperor feared death. And now it was coming for him. There was some sort of lesson there, wasn't there?
Time to find out what dumb way I die this time.
He was exhausted. Could barely think. He wanted to stop thinking. The rebels were already finished, and he was the last. The Ravens were coming for him personally now, in waves. It didn't matter. He was slick with his own blood, but it didn't matter. In the distance, he could see her, embraced by a halo of light, holding her hand out to him. Had she forgiven him? Would she take him to the halls of the Valiant? Then he felt steel in his belly, and his chest, and his back. And he lay down, and he couldn't see her anymore. He should go back to some of the choices he'd faced before. Maybe there were new paths that had opened up, like those doors he was opening up all over the map that took him to new treasures and around his enemies.
Wait, how did I learn
But
new
he learned
truth?
another true thing.
Oh,
Zenobia
really?
still had feelings for him.
I didn't realize that was something we didn't know. I thought that had been established multiple times. Wait, so there's freaking 6 stories somehow where... How do I get... interesting. But, whatever.
The book's pages fluttered to the beginning once again. Faster than before? And he fell. The clouds
feel like that
parted
wasn't
over the
something
Isles of
new, though.
Borealis. It was time to choose.
Like, that was clearly established in
The
at least 2 of the other
rebellion was in
paths.
trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer. Pieces of the Sky Ripper had surfaced. Bernardo knew that using it could go catastrophically wrong. but he was sure he could figure out how to use it safely. Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Iblis stone was hidden there. It was a dangerous artifact. It could corrupt its user into a bloodthirsty monster. Maybe he could find a way to use it, to take its power without surrendering to its wickedness. And also, his old friend Lupino needed rescuing.
What does that
Of
key
course,
mean?
Renato had a pretty strong suspicion that Lupino had betrayed the rebellion, and he had a gut feeling that he needed to use that to his advantage.
Huh. Okay, I guess the hint is that something to do with that path is the correct path? Yeah, I have. I followed Lupino's plan for this one here. Well, I didn't take him to the... I didn't take, her to the interrogators, though. And then he stabbed me. Very rudely. I'm curious about the third, path on this one, though. Because there's a third path that opened up on with the stone. I'm curious what'll come of that. And if that doesn't pan out, we'll see if we can
codices held hints of other things.
figure out what that key
A
means.
stone that ate souls, a ruby that drank blood, a jewel only a righteous man could give away. Were all these things the Iblis stone? Long hidden in the buried temple. Another ancient item that was only resurfacing now. Drawn up from the deeps by the Emperor's horrific rituals.
Just trying to teach you how to fly.
Ravens were already here, cawing in frustration. They were still searching for a way.
I feel like each time the battles are a bit more
And he hadn't come too late.
dangerous. 3 skill points to spend.
Nice. That could be useful.
So I can just dash into enemies now and knock them down for, like, getting ready. Interesting.
He needed some way to break the ice with this wall, so to speak.
Break the ice with more ice. I've read that before. It just says that it was stone and talks to your head. It's in your head. Much like zombies.
This was definitely better than pulling yourself up in a bucket.
Yeah, it was. It's a reference to a Cranberry song. I mean, it's not,
There had to be
it's Zombie
some way
by
to use the
Cranberries.
Iblis stone. It was old, wasn't it? People are so much cleverer now. And Renato was pretty sure he was cleverer than most people.
Barely landed a claw on him.
The Ravens at least could not get past this point. Obviously, the temple builders knew how to deal with Tomb Raiders.
Didn't like me trying to dash there.
Renato hated cannon traps.
Also, who reloaded these things anyway?
He never figured that part out.
Hello, Stone.
It
We
was a
meet once
stone
again.
of the purest blackness. It reflected no light, like a void made solid. Nervous, he picked it up.
Yeah.
It was the stone, eager, thirsty. That seemed tempting and terribly wrong. Zenobia was the Emperor's greatest general and a potent witch. But they had been close once, and he had a sneaking suspicion the gem would try to control him. Why not capture the core of Sky Ripper instead? It was the eye of a lost god torn out by the transcendent Emperor to power his greatest weapon. It's the core, said the
And then
stone
I
anxiously.
get dumb and decide to not fight.
What you want. But even though Renato knew how evil the gem was, he had a clever plan for dealing with it.
Let's find out what this clever plan is.
The gem could give great power, but it was
Oh,
evil.
okay.
But Renato had a plan. He would divide the stone into the power half and the evil half. He sought out the sage Calaveras.
Oh, you need a mirror of splitting.
Croaked Calaveras.
I can make one.
Calaveras set up various shiny things.
Alright.
And soon Renato was setting the stone down in the middle of Calaveras' lab. There was a flash, and now Renato was looking at himself. Except with a mustache, and a goatee and darker hair. There were two Iblis stones. One light, and one dark. Renato took the light one. He felt a rush of great power. Now I could defeat the Emperor. Wait a minute. Unfortunately, he couldn't think of any way to use it without hurting someone. That wouldn't be nice. Give me that, said his evil-looking twin. And he drew his sword. He only got it halfway out of the scabbard when he fainted from the effort. Obviously, neither weak, evil Renato nor powerful, nice Renato was any threat to the Empire. After the Emperor's victory, they were exhibited in a museum until time ended, which was soon after.
Wait, really?
He had tried something bold and paid the price for it.
Okay.
Every child could sing verses about the Sky Ripper.
What?
Ancient codices held hints of other things. A
Wait,
stone that ate souls.
it just took
A
me here
ruby that
again?
drank
Okay.
blood. A jewel only a righteous man could give away.
That's
Were all
so
these
dumb.
things the Iblis stone? Long hidden in the buried temple.
But like,
Another
you just
ancient
started
volume
here
was
again.
Only resurfacing now.
That's so strange.
Drawn up from the deeps by the Emperor's horrific rituals.
It didn't even heal me. Can't believe Bernardo is actually an idiot as we suspected.
You could throw him.
That's the top gun.
Ravens were already here, cawing in frustration. They were still searching for a way in. Good. Then he hadn't come too late. Oh, just
Bernardo,
a dash,
professional
thought
dum
Bernardo.
dum. This way seems to skip a lot of combat. That's why I like
The
going
new
this way.
pathway made Renato curious. There was an inscription. Praise the sun.
Oh my god. Too bad Midas missed that one.
There had to be some way to use the Iblis stone. It was old, wasn't it? People are so much cleverer now. And Renato was pretty sure he was cleverer than most people. The Ravens at least could not get past this point. Obviously, the temple builders knew how to deal with tomb raiders.
Okay, let's see what we go for this time. That doesn't involve making myself completely unable to do anything.
This wasn't actually such a hard puzzle, come to think of it. It was a stone of the purest blood.
The stone, once more.
It reflected no light, like a void made solid. It was the stone, eager, thirsty.
So there's two splits of this path that I haven't done yet. One is to kill the Emperor's daughter
seems
and then go
tempting
to the
and
mountain.
terribly wrong.
I haven't done that.
Zenobia
Or I
was
can,
the Emperor's greatest general and a potent
get
witch.
the
But they
get
had been
the,
close once, and he had a
thing-
sneaking suspicion the gem would try to control him.
the second
Why
thing,
not
and
capture the
then not
core of Sky
turn
Ripper
into
instead?
an idiot, maybe.
It was the eye of a lost god, torn out by the transcendent Emperor to power his greatest weapon. It's the core, said the stone anxiously. But even though Renato knew how evil the gem was, he had a clever plan for dealing with it.
It's a stupid plan. Did it even like list that in the stories? That stupid plan? No, it didn't. Like, that just never happened.
The stone bothered.
So that third one's just like a joke
The
path, I
moment
guess.
he landed the Farfarer, Renato had a rare feeling of regret. It's not too late, he thought. He could turn around and sail for Zenobia's island. He frowned. Wait a minute. He didn't want to kill Zenobia, did he? Sure, technically she was the enemy, but they'd been at Sword Food School together. They'd never been lovers, but somehow they'd been closer. She'd told him every secret about herself. Except the biggest one. There was something sour in the air.
Can't
Like
believe
the
I
earth had
interrupted
ruptured
him.
over something that had been fermenting for a very long time. Calaveras once explained to Renato how portals worked. But no matter how hard he tried to understand, the word just flew out of his brain. The stone hadn't lied about what it could do for him. With each raven he cut down, he felt a jolt of power flowing into his arm. "You're weak," whispered the stone. "The core will kill you." "Are you afraid of it?" "No, don't be ridiculous." It chuckled. "The fact is unstable. If a poison element has carried it, and if you try to use it, it will explode catastrophically. Renato did not trust rocks that talked in his head. He went onwards.
Stone time.
As he approached the core, the stone became hysterical. No, it's too much power. He had defeated
we've
the
seen that
demonic
before.
gem with the power of his mind. He felt invincible. It was time to attack the Imperial outpost on the Nexus. Take the battle to the enemy. But among the huge crystals, there was also an observatory.
So should I
A wise man would probably
should
ask
I
the
talk to them
scientists
and then
exactly
ignore
he
what they
had
say?
first.
Or should I just
How
go
wise
for the
was he?
fight? I just ignore the eggs heads. We've got one for ignoring them, and so we talked to them, and they said I should go to the mountains. And then when I went to the mountains, when I went to the mountains, this happened here, where I just decided not to fight anymore. But that's after talking to them and then following their advice. But yeah, let's see what happens if I just go full on fighting.
Sailed towards the Nexus. Renato wondered if the core had been created to silence the stone, or even to feed its hunger. Honestly, he didn't care. He felt terrific, and he appreciated the quiet inside his head. The Nexus was infested with ravens, but that didn't bother Renato. With each death, the converted Iblis stone in his gauntlets glowed brighter, and he felt stronger. Wow. He was getting a bit bloodthirsty, wasn't he?
Well, he wasn't one. He was a warrior. They're supposed to be bloodthirsty.
That was a voice.
There was a sign. Take the goat across first.
Take the goat across first, huh? Yeah, maybe I should have talked to the idiots first, but oh well. We'll see what happens. New adventures.
The core, absorbed in the stone, was doing its job perfectly. Renato could feel a little eldritch jolt every time he downed a raven, but then it flowed into the glowing stone the way water flows down a riverbed. It all felt perfectly natural. as if all his life, this was what he had been meant to do. The Nexus was a key node in the Empire's communications. From here, he could cut the Ravens off from all communications with the Palace.
Imperfect.
Renato tore through the last remaining guards at the outpost.
Oh, that was
like hot
fast.
coffee through snow. There was a far speaker toad here. He called the council speaker. He knew she would be thrilled. And she was. She wanted him to come back to base. They had plans to discuss, and a medal to give him. A large, golden medal. Great, said Renato. Let's talk about who else I can kill. Then the far speaker croaked again.
Hello, Renato.
He said,
What?
If you get sick of slaughtering second-rate birds in the Nexus, I'm waiting for you in the mountains.
Zenobia. She missed him. She loved him. Once she saw how awesome he'd become, maybe she'd join him.
I don't think she's...
They'd kiss and... Well, if she did refuse for some reason,
I don't
he was no match for him
think
now.
she's calling me over to like chat. I think she's just like trying to say, hey, come here and like I'll kill you. Well, we got one vote for her. Any other opinions here? Alright, guess we'll go with that, see what happens.
Zenobia was taunting him. No doubt she hoped to lure him into a trap, but it didn't matter, did it? He could fight his way out of any trap. He was invincible. This was gonna be fun.
So he still became bloodthirsty, even though,
So where was this ambush? Renato couldn't wait.
Even
At
though,
Swordful School, she'd
I'd
always
grabbed the
studied
other
a little
thing.
harder, practiced a little longer, complained really a lot less. And then she'd become a sorceress. He'd always known he'd have to take her by surprise or not at all. But this would be a surprise indeed.
What? I hate... Oh, come on.
His.
I hate those explodey guys so much. And it's always this spot too. It's like this particular battle always gets me somehow. Okay, that one better. I never really used the hookshot in fighting. I guess maybe I should start incorporating it a little bit with certain enemies.
Don't be shy.
There is no correct path. Every path leads to death. It turns out.
The mountain paths were infested with ravens. That was swell. Every time he cut one down, the stone glowed a little brighter. In fact, everything glowed a little brighter. Look how white the snow was, and how very blue the raven blood was. Seriously, where was she? He wanted to try his new strength against hers. What did you do if one of these platforms stalled?
Like an elevator that's stuck between floors. Well, it seems like the game's smart enough to not give me ore anymore because I don't need it. So that's good at least. So, who wants to wonder if there's actually a win condition to this?
Renato felt antsy. He'd found a source of great power. But instead of joining with the rebels, he was on a fool's errand the Emperor's daughter had sent him on. The rebels were preparing a last-ditch attack against the Imperial fleet, counting on Renato to show up in time. Would he be too late?
Hello. I'm here.
At the end of the path was Zenobia. I thought you were going to ambush me, he said, a little put out. I owe you better than that.
I know how you feel about me, love. You want to join up with me, don't you? You got to admit, we'd make a great team.
Of all the arrogant, ham-handed, half-assed, half-witted...
Oh, come on. What else you here for?
That, she said, as a dropship poured a bucket of green liquid on his head. Drowsy gas. You can't stop me with drowsy gas, Zenobia. My power's too strong. Zenobia? Where was she?
When he awoke, he was staring up at the sky. Zenobia looked down at him, frowning.
I probably ought to kill you, but that'd be a bit tawdry, wouldn't it? She was tossing the glowing stone from paw to paw. This is pretty.
Zenobia!
He shouted, and then he fell back into sleep.
Zenobia!
On the Farfarer, Renato drank his favorite headache remedy. But it did no good. Zenobia had beaten him again. Oh, he really should have listened to the Iblistone in the first place instead of messing around with the core. He had a bad feeling about the upcoming fight. But what kind of hero misses the final battle?
Well, trusting her was not the ideal path.
Renato was bruised and tired. He wasn't looking forward to killing ravens. Didn't even seem scary. It felt like a chore, like sweeping the practice room at Swordfu School, which he'd done his best to leave for Zenobia whenever he could. What would she do with the glowing Iblistone? That should terrify him, shouldn't it? But he just felt dull and stupid as he carved his way towards probable doom.
Yes. Who designed all these
It was
empty
all
airships?
so unfair. He'd wanted to protect himself, protect the world from the Iblistone's hunger for blood and souls. And all he'd done is get mugged. Next time he owned a supernatural artifact that wanted tribute, he'd serve it champagne and caviar. Renato felt ready to take on new powers.
they firing at with their wimpy fireballs?
No skateboarding, the sign said.
It seems like a bad spot to skateboard, it's true. So she's probably just going to kick my butt, I assume. He's ready for the good old butt kicking.
Zenobia was cleaning blood off her sword and weeping.
It's so hungry. I can't stop killing, she said. But I fed it the core of the Sky Ripper, and now it's hungry again. She wept. It was true. The Iblistone was black again. A void that seemed to suck all the light out of the sky. Take it from me, Renato. While you still can. Okay. I'll take it, he said. Yes, he thought. This is what it means to be a hero. To save the soul of even his old enemy when it looked like all was lost. He stepped forward to accept the sword from her outstretched hand. She flipped the sword, and the blade went into his gut.
I mean,
as the Iblistone sucked his
this
soul
surprised
into its
nobody.
infinite darkness, he could vaguely hear a voice, something like Zenobia's chuckle. Sucker. Oh, again? But he already had all the secrets he needed. He was sure of that. He must have not used them the right way. What was the best, worst mistake he could make? Probably trusting that traitor Lapino.
Okay, so I guess that key is to indicate like where I'm supposed to go to actually succeed.
The book's pages fluttered to the beginning once
So I guess
again.
we'll do that and see
Faster than before, and he fell.
see what we can do with that.
The clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer. Pieces of the Sky Ripper had surfaced.
I don't think we'll have to brute force because there's only like one thing we didn't do in Lapino's path, I
He
think.
was sure he could figure out how to use it safely. Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Iblistone was hidden there. It was a dangerous artifact. It could corrupt its user into a bloodthirsty monster. Maybe he could find a way to use it. To take its power without surrendering to its wickedness. And also, his old friend Lapino needed rescuing. Of course, Renato had a pretty strong suspicion that Lapino had betrayed the rebellion. And he had a gut feeling that he needed to use that to his advantage.
Alright, well, trying to see what we can do over here.
Renato finally realized that Lapino was a traitor to the cause. And maybe Renato could use that somehow.
Oh, I see. There's a new path that didn't exist before.
Renato couldn't quite put his paw on when he'd realized Lapino was working for the Empire. He'd never exactly seen Lapino sending coded messages to the palace, but he was sure. The rabbit had been on too many disastrous missions where he was the only survivor, or where he accidentally missed getting on the boat that went down to the abyss in flames. If Renato could prevent Lapino from getting back to the fleet with all the intelligence he'd probably gathered, it might be worth the trip. How had they come to this? They'd been on so many adventures together. Lapino had talked Renato out of prison at least 4 times, and Renato had rescued Lapino from at least 2 lynch mobs.
he'd always felt that the rabbit resented him. Lupino was hilarious because he was so down on himself and everyone else. But behind the laughs, he wasn't a happy camper. Ooh, was this payback? Or did the Empire have his little white tail in a vice?
Hopefully there's no brute forcing required here. I feel like we should be able to figure this out. But then again, everything we think seems reasonable and logical turns out to be a terrible idea somehow.
There was still no sign of Lupino. Not a hair, not a pellet. Was he hiding in the cemetery further down the road? That didn't seem like him.
Let's see.
Lupino would betray him. The core was dangerous. Now, Renato had a fleeting idea that the two ideas went together somehow. And then it was gone again. Ah, damn ideas. They never stuck around when you needed them.
Yeah, how inconvenient these ideas. These confounded ideas. Oh, we're here already. Okay.
Bloody and exhausted, Renato finally reached Lupino. The rabbit was practicing shuffling his favorite deck. Now that he knew what the rabbit was, there were a few things about him that Renato didn't find so amusing anymore. You sent me an urgent message saying that you're in danger. Oh, I am. The ravens are coming. Now, I got a clever plan to kidnap Zenobia. Renato wanted to clap shackles on the rabbit and shout, "You're a traitor, and I'm not falling for it." But if there was one thing Renato was sure of, it was that the core of the Sky Ripper was dangerous mostly to its user. If he could put it in the Emperor's hands, old Isengrim III might blow himself and his fleet up with it. Yes, that was it.
Interesting. Interesting idea. Seems like seems like that could work.
Renato felt like a real hero, brave and smart. He told the rabbit all about the Sky Ripper's God's Eye core. "I'll go get the core while you attack Zenobia," he told the rabbit. "But wait, I've an even better idea. I'll get the core and you attack Zenobia," said the rabbit. "Right, yeah, that is better," agreed Renato. Perfect. The traitor would make sure the Emperor got the core. Now Renato just needed the Emperor to use the core. If he could only get something that the Emperor wanted very badly. Zenobia. He could save her and bait the Emperor at the same time. Right. Now, all Renato had to do was fight his way through Zenobia's invading troops, sneak onto her ship and into her bedroom, and kidnap her without any of her dozens of guards alerting her. Then, he would rely on her love for him to convince her how evil her father was, so she'd run away with him instead of going back to her father, who was going to blow himself up. It did sound a little risky.
Sounds very
Renato
complicated.
had a feeling it would work out somehow. It always did.
Except for when it doesn't, which is most of the time.
This chest made music when you opened it. Too bad it was Muzak.
Oh no. Scruffo. They don't like your Muzak. Your Muzak. I don't know if that was a Zelda reference. I think it was more just making fun of Muzak. Which is, very relaxing with certain games. Yeah, I guess I can see where you're coming from. Danger eyes. What's he doing here? He's supposed to be getting the
Renato
core.
was halfway to Zenobia's encampment when Lupino showed up. He was disheveled and distraught.
They jumped us. I barely got away. Oh, they got the core.
Oh, it was all going according to plan, thought Renato. Now he just needed Zenobia on his side. Yes, that was even better. The Iblis Stone. Zenobia could get it. And then the Emperor
That
would have
sounds
to pursue them.
like a bad idea.
No.
Yeah.
The gem would corrupt anyone. Even her. That's it, he thought. Even Lupino. Even though Lupino was already a traitor. It would turn him against his secret master, the Emperor.
I don't
He would try to make
know if that's a
himself
good idea
Emperor.
either.
And the Emperor would have to defend himself with the core. Boom. He was a super genius.
I mean, better than saying Zenobia for it. So I guess if I have to send somebody, it's going to be Lupino.
Renato told the rabbit. If only I had gone for the Iblis Stone. But now it's lost in enemy territory. He handed Lupino a map. It gives the bearer so much power. We can only hope the Emperor never finds it. What was that? Said Lupino. I think someone's following us. I didn't hear anything. Rabbit ears.
You go on ahead. I'll check it out.
And with that, Lupino hopped off with the map.
Maybe, but I think the idea is that he's supposed to attack the Emperor because he becomes bloodthirsty.
Kill the fox!
Called the ravens. At least they do original.
Which hopefully that works out in our favor. I have suspicions it might not, but I guess we'll find out. Like I said, it's better than saying Zenobia
Renato
for it.
slinked through Zenobia's ship, making no sound at all. She was curled
Yeah.
up on her bed. He'd forgotten how beautiful she was. How sleek. How soft. He tapped her on the shoulder with his sword. She was made of smoke, and he noticed he had a very solid blade to his throat. Did you really think you could capture me? Heard a familiar voice. I just wanted to chat, said Renato. Did you ever wonder why the Emperor adopted you? He needs a sacrifice. Someone who truly loves him, to make a bargain with the lost gods. That's a vicious lie. He wants to bring them back. That's crazy. Why would anyone... They could make him immortal. An eater of souls. And with that, her eyes widened. She understood. Renato told her how he had rescued a priest whose order had been massacred. How he had slept in a burnt village. At midnight, the Emperor's victims had come to him in his dreams to tell him of the hideous eldritch rituals they'd been sacrificed in. He could still see those kittens and puppies.
Their wide, sad eyes, their moist noses. You can't prove that. I've got a witness at the observatory.
Kittens and puppies. Lions and tigers and bears, oh my. Okay, so we're here again.
He couldn't tell her, not yet, why he was really here. He didn't want her to be anywhere near the fleet when her father blew himself and Lupino up. So he told her about how the Emperor's obscene rituals had raised ancient artifacts out of the land. How he'd followed the appalling trail of the hideous horrors His Majesty had perpetrated for the sake of his own immortality. Any of this ring a bell? He said. He told me it was all lies. You've always known when I was lying. I always hated that about you, said Renato. The rebellion had started after atrocities that the Empire hushed up. Renato had rescued a priest whose order had been massacred for one book. He had slept in a burnt village. Dead kittens and puppies had come to tell him what the Emperor had
We already
done.
had this explained to us. You don't need to tell us again.
This thing really needed a roof.
I guess I'm full on everything, actually. I think sometimes it's not quite sure how to target someone that's laying on the ground.
Don't you think I'd know if my father started practicing black magic? Why? Would you join in? No! I'd destroy his books and I'd... Oh, God. Okay, you're not completely wrong. They've resurrected one of his victims. Well, look, I mean, look, it's not exactly alive, but it can talk. A true witness, she said.
As opposed to I don't know. Interestingly, this character does have a tail, but I've only managed to catch a glimpse of it like twice during certain animations. It's usually completely covered up by his cape. Oh god, this boat again. I hate this boat. I always get my butt kicked by this boat. Maybe I finally learned how to navigate on boats.
A cannon trap.
And
Who
there
kept
we
these
go.
things loaded anyway?
The hit is taken. And it's burning again. It's always burning when we come here with her. How suspicious.
The observatory was a
I need
burning
that
hell.
apple anyway.
Dead scientists and black feathers everywhere. The Ravens had taken special care to burn the reanimated witness to cinders. Zenobia stared at the carnage. He didn't want me to hear the witness, did he? I guess not. What's your plan? She asked. So, Renato explained his brilliant gambit. Sending Lapino to get the Iblis Stone, become super powerful and corrupted, provoke the Emperor into using the core against him, thus blowing up both of them, and hopefully the fleet too. Let me visit your council, she said, shaken. I want to help. Could he really trust her?
Yeah, you can trust her. We already know he can trust her.
He'd done it. He'd made Zenobia see how evil her father really was. He wished she didn't feel this urge to join in the rebellion.
Of course, this will be the one
After all,
time.
he'd taken care of the Emperor, right?
This will be the
But she'd
one
always
time
been
when we can't trust her.
conscientious like that. She told him she had to go somewhere first. So Renato gave her the location of the secret base, and they agreed to meet in the ruins. He had a very good feeling about this. What had Zenobia gone off to do? What was more important than meeting the rebel council? Had he made a mistake, sending her to the ruins? No. He knew they could trust each other. He could trust her because she never broke her word. And she could trust him because she could see right through him. Well, she'd probably be there well before him. She at least didn't have to fight her way through rainstorms of ravens.
He thought about Hypatia. Oh, she'd been an amazing rabbit. She could talk to him about comics, and talk to her son about history and battles, and talk to scholars about the ancient tomes hidden deep in the vaults of the Library of Ubar. Oh, Renato really missed her.
As he came around the bend, there was Lapino, unconscious on the side
How'd
of
he
the
get
path.
here?
And Renato could smell a familiar, sweet, smoky scent. Who? Zenobia. It had to be. She never used a combat spell when she could use drowsy gas. That meant she had the Iblis Stone. What would it do to her? She hated her father now. She'd kill him for sure. The council wouldn't mind if she killed the Emperor, but murdering her father would destroy her. He had to get to whatever ledge she was on and talk her down from it.
So do I want to go over here or through Island? I think I'll go over here because I don't like Island.
This could be the new aerobics craze. Am I right?
Cool. Am I right is in the dictionary? I don't know. You have the power to find out, I guess. Oop,
Hey,
oop,
Why don't you
Oh,
guys fight in
Jesus.
groups? Oh, I know. Because there's no I in team.
Don't like those eyeballs. They're very obnoxious.
Long stairs. So he was close to the rebel base. Nothing was on fire. So far, so good.
can't believe I'm opening
I should follow my nose.
two doors
thought
at the same
Bernardo.
time. Hey, that energy. Big fruit chest.
Everyone in the council chamber was dead. Zenobia stood shivering
Well,
on the court,
that didn't go as we'd hoped.
drenched in blood. Why? He managed.
They started arguing with me. I lost my temper and I wanted their blood. Not me. The stone did. Why did you take it from Lupino? I had a plan. You had a stupid plan, she said. I'm going to go kill my father now. No, you can't. You'll just take his place. You'll become worse than him. Get out of my way, or I'll kill you too.
You think I should just let her do it? I shouldn't try to fight her? I shouldn't try to stop her, rather? Yeah, I feel like trying to stop her is the answer here. Because I feel like I don't know, I just feel like this is supposed to matter, like, a lot. So I feel like this is supposed to play in here. Because we've used these two... Actually, we've used these three, but we haven't really used this one yet. So I think that might be the correct answer.
You won't kill me, he said. And I won't let you kill the Emperor. Enraged, she raised the sword.
You hate him too?
He could sense the Iblis stone, yearning for his death. But she didn't strike. If you kill him, he'll destroy you. I know you.
Shut up!
She shouted, her sword trembling. I won't lose you again. Not for anything.
Get away from me!
He said, and he was very close. I can't lose you again. And he was in reach of her sword now.
I hate him! I hate you too!
I love you, he said for the very first time. And then she was weeping. He was holding her. The sword had dropped from her hand. He glanced at the Iblis stone. It was no longer the black of the void. It looked like coal. No. It glowed. Like a cinder. It was crackling, burning, crumbling into ashes. You've always loved me, haven't you? She said. She was weak. The stone had taken so much from her. Always, he said. She staggered as he helped her up. Let me take you away. Where? The island of Avalon. The sisters will heal you. He'll follow us. Then we need the Farfarer, the fastest ship in the Empire. The Empire had seized his ship. They'd have to take it back.
Rude. How dare they seize my ship? What'd I ever do to them? Oh, we know the drill on this level. Go this way, avoid most of the fights. Which at this point is pretty much
You
the
never knew
plan.
where the road would take you, thought Bernardo.
It's not a whole lot leveling up has to offer me anymore.
And there it was, his beautiful skycraft, the Farfarer. They would fare very far indeed, beyond the Empire, beyond the reach of the Empire, to the mystical island of Avalon. He didn't know exactly where it was, but he knew he could find it.
and they would find peace there. Second star on the right, and straight on till morning, laughed Zenobia.
Oh my god. A Star
And they
Trek
laughed together for the
reference.
first time in a long time.
I believe that was a quote from The Undiscovered Country. Oh, it's Peter Pan? Because they say something very similar in Undiscovered Country too. Which maybe that's a reference to Peter Pan. I don't know, I never read Peter Pan, so... How does everyone know Peter Pan so readily? Is that like something a lot of people read? I never had to read that in school. Never had to read nothing in school except for all the things I had to read. The only movie I saw was the one with Robin Williams. And I don't remember that quote being in that movie. God damn, this fight was going on for a while. Oof. Yeah, it was a big combo.
But they did not go unnoticed. Scout ships lifted off, and the long lance of the Imperial flagship. Renato turned downwind to gain speed. The Raven ships could pursue, but they couldn't close. The Far Speaker croaked, "You return her and live!" "Go sacrifice yourself," yelled Renato. "Then you won't have her either." On the flagship, the Emperor was readying some arcane weapon. It couldn't be. It was the core. A devastating beam lanced out of the flagship. Renato zigzagged wildly to keep the Farfair out of it. Now the Raven scout ships were closing the distance, and the
Won't this
beam was
just
getting
destroy
closer
the
too.
universe?
Then came a blinding flash, and the air was searingly hot all around him. There was a thunderous, deafening roar. He could smell burnt oak and burnt feathers and burnt flesh. But when he could hear and see again, they were alive and unhurt. And they were alone in the sky. Zenobia embraced him. They had done it. Through luck and through love, they had won the war. "Avalon, here we come," he said as he held her arms wide in the prow of the boat and let her feel its speed. "Maybe the real Avalon is wherever we're together," she said. And so, after a bit of an argument, Renato and Zenobia went to one of the two Avalons. The one shrouded in mists, or the one in their hearts. But which one they went to, I'll never tell.
Can't believe we
He'd
finally figured
done
it out.
He'd forged his own destiny. Well, he hadn't actually done it. But he knew what he would do. Renato smiled at the book. He practically wanted to kiss it. The kid's sacrifice hadn't been in vain. He'd saved the book and saved the world. Renato owed him and his mother so much. Renato lowered the mainsail and let the Farfarer shoot forward in the breeze. Second star to the right, and straight on till morning. This time, he would win.
Can't believe it. We stumbled our way to an actual victory. Yeah, definitely interesting way to do it. I'm going to skip the credits. Forgive me. Ibblestone Skyripper always active. Interesting. Well, I guess if I wanted to discover all the other paths, but I probably won't. Because that just sounds like grinding, sort of. But thanks for joining me on this adventure, everyone. Let me go and find ourselves someone to host. And things will be good. Looks like Psych is playing a very silly game, undoubtedly. So let's go over to him, and y'all have a good evening.